In my last video with the thumbnail that you see on screen, I made the statement that this judge, David Quest KC, who is also a UK judge, is a criminal because he is seeking to pervert the course of justice. He is representing a criminal, Bernie Ecclestone, a convicted fraudster, and he is also representing Formula One and the FIA. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate and evidence that Formula One are guilty of fraud. The UK judge, David Quest Casey, and I urge you please to look at this video that I've put out, because it requests of you to actually take some action to seek justice in relation to this man's involvement in the situation, which is then going to help us move towards seeking justice for Abu Dhabi 2021. But what he's done, he is seeking to present a case on the behalf of 3 corrupt parties to absolve them from consequence from the damage they did at Singapore 2008 and for the 2008 season, which is all declared in this video. And he's also seeking to invoke this notion of finality so that historic results in the sport of Formula One can then not be challenged due to the legal precedent invoked as a result of this Massa case. That is a corrupt operator seeking to create a legal device to absolve criminals of consequence for their crimes. That is a man seeking to pervert the course of justice. Justice is when criminals are held to account for their crimes, and this man is trying to protect them from that, and this is a UK judge. Now, let's just be clear on some definitions here. Fraud. Fraud is defined as an intentional act of deception aimed at gaining an unlawful advantage or causing a loss to another party. It involves misrepresentation of the truth or concealment of material facts to induce someone to act to their detriment. Common types of fraud include those in insurance, stock, and mortgage industries, affecting both individuals and businesses. Essentially, fraud is lying for gain, resulting in harm to another. You saw my video about Toto Wolff looking to sell 5% of the Mercedes team. The the stock value of the Mercedes team, how much that's increased since the fraud. The fraud was perpetrated to add drama to their product, to excite the children, to attract new fans, to increase the viewership of their show, to enhance its value fraudulently, because that wasn't authentic sport that they cooked up. Okay, they fixed that and they did it on purpose. They contrived it, and all involved were complicit with it because they all benefited from it. Each of those 10 teams at that race, they just shut up. They stayed quiet. They were all complicit. It was a multitude of parties. It was Formula One. It was the FIA. It was all teams, and it was all contracted broadcasters compliant with the fraudulent narrative. Not a single one of them called out what was actually going on. So the question was, is sport fixing considered a form of fraud? And the answer to that is yes. It involves organised crime groups orchestrating fraudulent activities to manipulate the outcomes of sporting events for profit. Every single one of those teams has had its share value, its stock value grow massively in the aftermath of Abu Dhabi 2021. The drama that they created, they manufactured, caused an increase in viewership of the sport, attracted a lot of money to be pumped into the sport through people wanting to be associated with the sport because of the global reach, the increased global reach. This undermines the integrity of sports and can lead to significant legal consequences for those involved. You can look further into this particular one, the law, tutors, match fixing, betting, and crime, an economic analysis of gambling-led corruption in sport. And chapter 1 starts sports manipulation. Can we fix it? Well, Jim the Builder says yes, we can, and we're going to. So this one is proving that Formula One is corrupt. What I need you to understand, if you're new to the channel and you haven't seen my other videos demonstrating just how fraudulent Formula One is, your version of watching Formula One constitutes normal. Okay, that to you is normal. What you see, what you hear is your version of normal when it comes to watching motorsport. But it's not like that. Okay, that's the way that they do it to make you feel a certain way when you're watching that product. Okay, that's the way that they construct it. What you see, everything that you see, everything that you hear, whether that's commentary or whether that's the interjected messages from the teams to the drivers, they are fed to you by Formula One. They have their own TV company, F1 TV, which produce all of that, and then the contracted broadcasters speak in conjunction with that. It's not live, it's a construct. There's a director that has got over 100 cameras at his disposal with 100 different shots ongoing at any time, and he's going from shot to shot, picking out what they want you to see. All the radio messages that take place, they've got all of them audio feeds. They listen to each one of them. They decide what it is that they want you to hear. And that is a by design. They choose what they want you to hear because that makes you feel about it a certain way. A different example, but hopefully just one for you to compare with. If you remember back during the pandemic, when football got going again, firstly they started playing football games behind closed doors without any fans. When you watched those games of football on, for example, Match of the Day, the whole experience was different, wasn't it? Watching a game of football without the crowd reaction to what was going on made watching that sport very different to your normal version of watching that sport. You expected when a goal was scored to be the entire crowd erupting and, all the celebrations and everything. Didn't happen. Because people felt a bit weird watching it that way. They started then playing the sound of crowds through the speakers, or like they were dubbing the sound of crowd cheering over the top of the action, just to give people more of a sense of what they would normally kind of class as normal when watching that particular sport. And that applies to every single sport. You wouldn't watch golf, for example, with everybody cheering all the time like football fans. You wouldn't watch snooker with everybody cheering all the time throughout the game like football fans. Each sport has got its own nuance, and this is how they do it in Formula One. Now you can all do this. Formula One has its own, you can go onto their website, subscribe to their TV package where you can get access to the Grand Prix. This is not me advertising them, it's just telling you this is how you yourself can do exactly what I am showing you now. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix is in their archives, 2021, final race of the season. And if you go to their archives, get this Grand Prix and go on the time bar to 1:34:40, I'm on data view, which tells us we are on lap 56 of 58. We're in that safety car period as it says at the top of the screen. Now, the safety car protocol is very, very simple. They don't explain it to you, but it is very simple. If race control has to intervene in a race to deal with a safety concern, one of the things that they have at their disposal to deal with that incident is the safety car. The things that they have at their disposal when there's a safety concern are waved yellow flags, either a single wave yellow flag to inform drivers that there's a hazard and to slow down, a double wave yellow flag to inform them that there's a hazard, slow down significantly and be prepared to stop. They can use what is called the virtual safety car, where all drivers, all the way around the track, because the waved yellow flags are just locational, so that's just a specific location around the track. When you get to virtual safety car, that is a notification given to all the drivers everywhere on track, and all must slow down to a delta, and that maintains the gap between each of those cars, and they continue going around the track at a similar speed to each other, maintaining their positions, maintaining those gaps. Now that can work sometimes to enable them to clear an incident safely. That generally works near the start of races when everybody is still quite bunched together, and by doing that they've still got a window of opportunity to go onto the track without the risk of a car passing by every few seconds, and they can usually clear whatever's on the track under virtual safety car in those sort of circumstances, providing it's not a major incident where they need to bring a crane onto the track, for example. Anything more serious than that, you need to use the safety car, which ultimately bunches all the cars up, creates a window of opportunity for something to be on track and to remove whatever the obstruction is that's on the track. By deploying the safety car, what it does, it nullifies all that has taken place in that race up to that point. Obviously, not the things such as retirement, not the overtakes, the gains in position that have been made, but all the time advantages that have been built up in that running order between all the competitors. They get wiped out down to nothing. And what you end up with is a line of cars that are now one behind the other in the correct race order, all the advantages wiped out, and once the incident's dealt with, then you can withdraw the safety car and resume the race, and essentially the race starts again from that scratch position. However, once the leader has begun lapping some of the cars in the field, it produces skewed outcomes when you bring the safety car onto track, and the reason being is whoever the leader has lapped up to, that particular car that the leader has just lapped is still in a race with the car in front of it, which the leader hasn't yet lapped. And the moment you bring the safety car onto track, the safety car picks up the leader. Every car behind the leader, which is the first of those lapped cars, the last one that the leader's lapped, has to be in this safety car snake. And the car that this first lapped car behind the leader was competing against disappears off around the track and joins up with the end of this safety car snake. So essentially, the car that the leader has lapped now loses a lap on the car it was previously able to challenge. That's clearly skewed the outcome for that car due to having to deal with a safety incident. Hence, there is a safety car protocol, a series of regulations that you follow that you must do prior to the resumption of racing. The media doesn't tell you this. What you have to do in the procedure is, once the track is declared safe, which is the first requirement, you've deployed the safety car to deal with a safety incident. Okay, so therefore you've got to clear it up. You've got to make sure everything's safe, the track is clear of debris, the car is removed, for example, if it's a crash car, the track is swept, the barriers are checked to make sure that they're not damaged and are able to perform the same role if a car was to have an incident in the same location again, and that all of the marshals that are tending to the situation, they are removed from the track as well, and we're back to be declaring the track safe and ready to go racing again. That needs to happen. Once that has been declared, the race director then needs to carry out the mandatory procedure to achieve the restart condition. And what he does, he notifies all of the competitors that now we are going to do the unlapping procedure. All need to know, because the cars that are on the lead lap, they need to be aware that they're now out of this safety car snake of cars. The lapped cars are going to be moving out of that line of that snake of cars, and they're going to be passing everybody and going past the safety car, and then we'll go around the track with the intention of linking up with the back of that safety car snake to create a snake of cars in the correct race order with all the previously built up advantages. Now, the way that procedure happens is the instructions given to all those cars, Them cars, the green light will appear on the safety car to allow these cars to then pass the safety car as it is lapping. Those released cars get the remainder of that lap that they are released on, plus one further lap of that safety car with which to make it around the track at clearly a higher speed than the safety car snake to try and link up with the back of the pack. That is the minimum requirement. The race director has within his discretion 15.3 the option of keeping that safety car on track for as long as he determines it is required to be there to allow those released cars to fully catch the back of the pack to restore sporting fairness to them all. The race director Michael Massey demonstrated his knowledge of that by doing that 4 times. I've listed that many times. I think it's Spain 2019, Brazil 2019, Sakhir 2020, and Eiffel 2020. I think it was. I might be wrong, but I think they're the 4 that Massey kept the safety car on track for an additional lap beyond the mandatory lap that he must keep it there after the lapped cars were released. So the FIA, in their race director, has demonstrated through his conduct that he knows the rules and he knows the purpose of those rules. You don't make an error like that when you know what's going on. So, now that you're aware of that, now that you're aware of the purpose of that, you will hear the likes of Martin Brundle and David Croft, the contracted broadcaster, tell you, will they let the lap runners through? I don't think it's mandatory, but it's normally on a wet day when they don't. And if they do, how long will they wait? That's what Brundle and Crofty will have been saying throughout this time, prior to this timestamp that you're seeing on the screen. So they're lying to you to propose to you, the audience, that that's a possibility here, when it categorically is not. You cannot restart that race with those skewed outcomes, because you cannot skew the outcomes in such a way whereby, for example, in the example of Abu Dhabi, prior to the Latifi crash, Max Verstappen was almost 12 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, and Lando Norris here was just over 11 seconds behind Pierre Gasly. At this stage, with the 5 cars in between Hamilton and Verstappen, Verstappen is showing at 7.5 seconds behind Hamilton. Norris is now showing, because Norris is tucked up behind Hamilton and Gasly is going to be tucked up at the end of the safety car snake, they're showing that Norris is 1 minute 11 seconds behind Gasly. It's actually Gasly's here. Gasly has pitted and is now making his way around the track to catch up with the back of the safety car snake. That's why he's only that distance behind Gasly. So you can see just over 11 seconds to now 1 minute 11 seconds behind. That skewed the outcomes. Max Verstappen has been able to gain. Lando Norris has lost. That's not okay. That's not okay. If Max is allowed to be on the back of Lewis, then Norris must be on the back of Gasly. The same conditions apply to all competitors. That is what is dictated in the FIA International Sporting Code, and that is the requirement. These regulations will never be applied in such a way as to prevent sporting competition, and that, applying them in a different way, obviously clearly prevents Norris from competing with Gasly. Very, very simple, but proposed and presented to you as being something different to that because of the fraud. So, what you see at the moment, you see Perez in the pits. This is all part of a contrivance. What that actually does, it guarantees Mercedes the Constructors' Championship that season, which netted them a reported $177 million. Prior to that race, Mercedes had a lead in that championship of 28 points in the Constructors' Championship. With one car finishing, the maximum you can achieve is 26 points. Even if So even if Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas do not finish that race now, the Red Bull will only have one running competitor, and he can only achieve 26 points. So Mercedes win the World Championship. That is a statement of fact. Perez is being retired. At the point that he was retired, Perez was running third in that race. Had Hamilton have suffered a retirement under that safety car situation, that would have then elevated Red Bull to a 1-2. So, what would then have happened? Verstappen, 26 points. Perez, 18 points. That's 44 points. The deficit was 28, so that's a swing of 16. Bottas in fourth only gets 12. Oh, so had Hamilton had actually suffered a mechanical failure or puncture during that safety car situation, then Red Bull, if Perez would have stayed on track, they'd have won the Constructors' Championship as well. But during a safety car period, when you're not stressing the car, you are not really at much risk of anything. Red Bull felt they needed to retire the car. Box. Was that part of the deal? Was that part of the distraction, the diversion? So at this timestamp, go across here. You can go to driver cams, and this is important. You can do exactly the same. You'll get exactly the same result. Driver cams, and go to number 6, Latifi. It will come up with this. When it catches up, if your internet is quicker than mine, you'll get the picture quicker than mine. Come on. I think it knows. I think Formula One's tracking me, and no, there's a video error. Let me pause this, and I will come back and show you exactly what is going on. Okay, we're back. We'll try again. Remember the timestamp, 1:34:40. Over to driver cams. Number 6, Latifi. Click on that. And what we see is Nicholas Latifi is on board. You can see that his car is on a crane being swung around. And what you'll be able to see here, where I'm waving my cursor, is the marshals on the track. That is marshals on the track picking up bits of debris. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at least marshals on the track. At least, and I think there's somebody in the background that I missed. I think there could be up to 6 marshals on the track at that moment in time. Now when we come back to here, we're 1:34:51, so that's just 11 seconds of that. And we are on lap 56. Lap 56 is the crucial lap. Those lapped cars have to be released on this lap. They have to have passed the safety car, all 8 of them. And then lap 57 can be that mandatory lap that those released cars are afforded, with which to attempt to make it around the track to join up with the back of the safety car snake to achieve the restart condition. Remember, F1 TV, Formula One, isn't showing you this. Okay? They are not showing this on the global feed that is going out to 108.7 million people. They are keeping you in the dark about what is actually taking place. There's a reason why this safety car period is what it is, and that is the clear-up operation. They are having to deal with an incident. There are marshals on the track dealing with it. Rather than tell you that, which is the facts of the situation, they keep everybody guessing. They create a narrative. So what we'll do, we'll demonstrate, we'll go to tracker view and we'll listen to what's being said. So it's a combination of what you see. I can't show you what they show you in turn. In fact, look at this. This is what they showed us, the international feed, but this gets blocked on copyright if I show you too much of it, and now they're probably going to try and do it again, where it's pissing me around.
Will not.
So what do? They cut to the Mercedes garage. Oh, what jeopardy! Now, what did we miss out on the commentary? We see the retirement of Perez's car. We're seeing that. We're not seeing Latifi's car. We're not seeing the marshals on track.
This is Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
And we get...
Check. Go.
They really don't want me to do this video, do they? Let me just go to track with you anyway. So they show us the Red Bull garage retiring Perez. And then they'll cut to what Mercedes are looking at. I apologise for the buffering that I'm experiencing in this video, but please stay with it. It is important that
We
you
need to retire the car.
So this is another angle.
We need to retire the car. Box.
And for the
We pan round to Mercedes
Yeah, box.
to see how Mercedes feel. It's the emotional roller coaster, everybody.
and lapped cars will not be allowed.
And then they tell us lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake.
And for the
Really?
When those cars are turning turn 5 on lap 56. Now this is the key lap. Why have they decided that right now? Because, you know, it could be that by the time they get to here, those marshals are clear of the track. They've done all the sweeping. Why are they declaring that now? We'll go back. So remember I showed you Nicholas Latifi's on board at 134.40. We're at 134.43 now. So at 134.43, they're approaching turn 5.
Going to be working on it, and that is the end of Sergio Perez's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Check out. We need to retire the car. We need to retire the car. Box.
And for the
Really? Yeah, box.
and lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake.
And lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. Well, that means it's a safety car finish then. Okay, there's Gasly, and like I say, there's Norris. Gasly will join up behind this grey dot of Tsunoda. Norris is now an entire lap behind all that, when previously Norris was closer to Gasly than Verstappen was to Hamilton. This is how a safety car impacts a race, and this is why you need to carry out the mandatory procedure before that race restarts. And look at what is being done to you, to me, to every single one of us by these people who are defrauding us. We're being defrauded by Sky Sports F1. We're being defrauded by Formula 1. We're being defrauded by the FIA. Now, Formula 1 is responsible for this TV footage, the interjection of messages, okay, that are being played out, and that makes you feel about it a certain way. They are responsible for the footage you get shown to lead you to believe things to be happening a certain way. The commentators are doing exactly the same. They're saying things to lead you to believe things to be a certain way. And that's not the truth. So let's have a look and let's have a listen.
It's not mandatory in the regulations, which leaves Verstappen.
It absolutely is mandatory in the regulations because you have to restore sporting fairness to all competitors.
With a lot of work to do there.
Embellishes the lie by suggesting it leaves Max with a lot of work to do. Well, we saw in this data view that he was about 7.5 seconds behind because of all these cars in between. After the race, you got the likes of Karun Chandok proposing that maybe by that towards the end, if they'd have restarted with these lapped cars in situ, Max may have caught that, and there could have been a really exciting last few corners. All lies. You're not allowed to have that last lap for a start off, and Supermax catching a deficit like that, not happening. Anyway,
So Mercedes will be constructors' champions at the end of this race, as it stands.
Right now, as I've just explained, they are guaranteed to be constructors' champions the moment that Perez is retired. Now, what is taking place that you're not hearing at the moment is between around about this point here, where I'm waving my cursor, just after turn 5. Might have been on the turn 5 and around this rate, because there is a slight lag in the radio communications when you go on board with these drivers, and that could be just in case there's any swearing, that they then put a beep over before there's any kind of broadcast of that. So the actual conversation is likely to have begun around about the turn 5 and ended up going down here to turn 6. It lasts 20 seconds between Max Verstappen and Gianpiero Lambiase. That's when it actually takes place. You can go onto Max Verstappen's onboards to hear it, and I've done that in various other videos.
At the moment, assuming that Hamilton and Bottas finish this race. The Drivers' Championship, though, is very much...
Assuming that Hamilton and Bottas finish this race. No, they're already in the lead by 28 points. Hamilton and Bottas could retire, and Max will only get 26 points, and Mercedes will still be champions. So that's lying from Crofty. The Drivers' Championship is very much up for grabs. That's lying from Crofty. It's not. If lapped cars can't be released, racing can't resume, and therefore, providing we stay as we are, Lewis Hamilton will be a record-breaking 8-time world champion.
Up for grabs. The lapped cars won't be allowed to overtake, which means that there are plenty of cars in between Hamilton and Verstappen for Verstappen to fight his way through. Norris, Alonso...
What you have as well is Alonso here in 9th position. Okay, once they go around past the pits, all these cars behind Perez will be elevated a position because they'll have effectively kind of passed him and they'll elevate a place. Alonso is on his radio around about this moment, and he's getting the message. There's Max Verstappen is 2 cars behind you, and Alonso says, yeah, and he should be 2 cars in front of me. Well, Alonso, if you're in 8th position, 1, 2, and if let's just say the 2 cars in between is what he meant. Well, 2 cars in front of you, well, we're looking at Tsunoda or Bottas, not Max Verstappen. If you're in 8th position, which you will be, 2 cars in front of you is not second. What do you know, Fernando? What do you know? You know, you did say the second lap that you passed Latifi's crash site. When the second time you passed it, it was worse because you were going through a cloud of smoke, the fire extinguisher, that we needed to unlap now. Come on, to get this job done. And then Sebastian Vettel saying, Michael was messing this up. What's he messing up? We can go through all the audios. I have done that. The evidence is on the channel. Then we carry on listening to the commentators, but this is demonstrating it's not just the commentary of Sky Sports that are lying to you to condition you, to prime you for what's about to take place. It's also Formula One, their broadcasting channel, their mind conditioning machine. We'll come to it.
So, and also Ocon and Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel. No.
So what they do there, they just list. There's 8 lapped cars here. They don't talk about Ricciardo, Stroll or Mick Schumacher. They just talk about these 5 cars here. And Martin Brundle's about to say none of them are for position. Well, yes, they are. Lando Norris here will be in 7th. Alonso's in 8th. Ocon's in 9th. Leclerc in 10th. Vettel's 11th. Norris wants to be challenging for 6th. Alonso, they're all for positions.
None of which are for position, of course. No. They're obliged to get out of the way, but Lewis will be long down the road.
That I suppose is the compromise that race control have made here.
So the message has been given to the world. Lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. And Sky Sports are suggesting the race director is making a compromise. Name a sport whereby the commentators see something happening in the sport that shouldn't be taking place, and they make the proposal. Oh, I guess that's the referee making a compromise here. Can you think of a sport where that happens? No, it doesn't. They'd be going, what's the referee doing here? He's not allowed to do that. But no, Crofty tells you this is where the race director is making a compromise, everybody.
By giving the best possible chance for racing to the finish rather than finishing behind the safety car.
By giving the best chance, who are you giving the best chance to? Are you giving the best chance to Norris? Are you giving the best chance to Carlos Sainz? Because Carlos Sainz in a Ferrari in third place in the race is behind Daniel Ricciardo and Lance Stroll, who you don't mention. Are you giving Carlos Sainz the best chance of racing to the finish? Are you giving all the other drivers that are impacted by this situation the best chance of racing to the finish? Remember, these regulations will never be applied in a manner so as to prevent competition. Yeah, you're preventing competition because all competitors matter, don't they? But this is our expert commentator explaining to you.
They've decided the lap cars will stay where they are.
That is the interjection of a chosen message chosen out by Formula One, F1 TV. They've chosen to play you this to make you feel a certain way, make you believe things to be a certain way. This is Formula One defrauding you. They're about to play you a message that took place, the actual conversation took place between turn 5 and turn 6, lasted about 20 seconds. What you're going to hear lasts about 12 seconds. We're on 1:35, 56 seconds. You'll be able to see and listen. And how does it make you feel, everybody? How does it make you feel?
Cancel that. Lap cars will not be allowed to overtake.
Yeah, of course. Typical decision.
It's classic.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised. How does that make you feel? Red Bull are being hard done by. It's a typical decision from race control that Red Bull are once again being disadvantaged. Is what F1 TV have constructed to make you believe it to be that way. Now, at this moment in time, we are coming around the corner of the crash site.
Well, I'll try and look at this objectively.
The commentators want to tell us that they're looking at it objectively. What they show you is the emotion of the Red Bull team.
Lap cars to overtake, we'd have no...
By being objective, if they allowed the lap cars to overtake, we'd have no laps of racing. Well, that's not being objective, that's just a statement of fact.
No laps of racing to the check.
The emotion, how does it make you feel, everybody?
So
we're praying to the racing gods, everybody. This is what Formula One is doing to you, through what it presents to you, to make you feel and believe things to be a certain way.
What do Red Bull want? And Max...
What do Red Bull want? It doesn't matter what Red Bull want. What matters is the mandatory procedures of these marshals that are still on the track, their safety. Until they are clear of the track, until the clerk of the course can inspect the area, declare the track safe, hand back to race control to perform the mandatory procedure that needs to be done prior to the resumption of any race. All this that they're saying is not allowed. Formula One, they didn't show you what was going on here. The focus is not on these guys, is it? They're not explaining to you that, oh, this is the reason why we can't do the unlapping procedure yet, because this incident is still being cleared up. And if it can't be cleared up in time between now and when they started speaking about it and the end of this lap, such that these 8 lapped cars can be released on this lap 56, it means the earliest that they can be released is lap 57, and if that's the case, the safety car has to remain out on track for the following lap, that lap that must be afforded to those released cars to allow them the opportunity to make it around the track and link up with the back of the pack to achieve the restart condition. That dictates that this becomes a safety car finish, and providing Lewis Hamilton keeps his car on the road behind that safety car, then because there's no overtaking allowed, it will dictate that Lewis Hamilton wins the race and with it becomes an 8-time world champion. But they don't tell you that.
Verstappen and Gianpiero Lambiase is racing.
What do they want? Well, want to ensure the safety of the marshals first.
Engineer, do they want the chance, or do they want to finish behind the safety car with no overtake?
What do Red Bull want? Do Red Bull want the chance like this, you know, being 5 cars back? Or do they want to finish behind the safety car, everybody? How does it make you feel? What do Red Bull want? Let's be objective about this, is how they present it. So the last of the marshals is just hurdling the barrier now. So with that being the case, you can then go back to we'll go back to track view and see where the leader is now. This is looking back at turn 14. This is turn 15 here, where we're looking back. And at this moment in time, we've got Charles Leclerc, and we've got Sebastian Vettel, and we've got Max Verstappen on the approach to turn 15. So with that being the case,
Do they want?
There they are. There's Charles Leclerc at turn 15. There's Max Verstappen on the approach to turn 15. Lewis Hamilton is just about to round turn 16, has only got this distance to get to the checkered flag. So even after those marshals have departed the track, even if the radio message came from the clerk of the course to race control, well, that takes a few seconds. Race control then has to radio all of the teams and drivers to say, okay, we're now going to perform the unlapping procedure. That's going to take a few seconds. And then all these cars have got to go around here, pass the cars that are in front of them, and pass the safety car. That's not going to take place in this amount of time.
The chance, or do they want to finish behind the safety car with no overtaking? Because I think that is the decision that has come from race control. And
there you go. Because now we're on lap 57, as we've proven here. We've just started lap 57. Safety car finish. What did Formula One make you believe? They made you believe that Max was being hard done by. What is Sky Sports doing to you? Oh, they're being objective, everybody. Go back to tracker. Show where the cars are.
This is the decision that gives them the best chance if they want it.
Yeah, I mean, the regulation, as I said, they may allow the lap cars through. It's not mandatory, as I pointed out.
It's been mandatory since the beginning of the 2012 season, Martin. This is the end of the 10th full season under these regulations. 199 Grand Prix. You've commentated on most of them, Martin. You have gaslit the population during that time, saying each time there's, many times there's a safety car situation, you've gone, oh, is the safety car coming in? No, Martin, no, they've still got to do the unlapping. Oh, I don't like it like that. Doesn't matter what you like, Martin. But then there's other ones where you do acknowledge, oh, yeah, no, they've still got to do the unlapping. But, it all depends on how you want to excite the kiddies at each event, doesn't it, Martin? Depending on which narrative you're paid to give.
But as you point out, Crofty, there'd be no racing laps if they let the lap cars through, because I think the safety car will come in at the end of this lap, and there will be one racing lap.
So at the relative beginning of lap 57, Martin's predicting that he thinks the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap, and there will be one racing lap. And we do get down to turn 9, and Martin then exclaims, and it's ending, wow. You see, he thinks it's coming in, and he thinks we're going to get racing, and then when it happens, he's surprised. But F1 TV, Formula One defrauding you.
They'll all get blue flags, I would imagine.
This is the message that Formula One is choosing to play to the world, to prime you for something. Remember, we're on lap 57. Remember, under the regulations of this sport, we are guaranteed now for a safety car finish. You cannot resume this race. But how do F1 TV, how do Formula One make you feel about it?
Christian and Michael.
Yes, go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, why aren't we getting these lap cars out of the way?
Just give me, well, because Christian, just give me a second.
This is a redundant message. It may well have taken place sometime during lap 56. they've chosen to play it once we're on lap 57, when it doesn't matter what you think, Christian. We're in a position now where it's not possible. So with that being the case, why are Formula One playing at you?
Okay, my big one is to get this incident clear.
You only need one racing lap.
That's what they did to you. It's all a fraud. What cements their fraud? You see all these screens here. This is, they have more than that at their disposal in their studio that they concoct what they show us, that what they feed us on the global feed of Formula One is unpicking the safety car period that turned the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix on its head and Mercedes' protest explained. So this is from the 13th of December 2021, the day after the fraud, okay, by Formula One. This is their own web page, their own information demonstrating their fraud, okay. Mark Hughes, 13th of December 2021, morning debrief. And let's just have a read through what they say, which is their account of the situation that they're giving to the world. And remember, fraud, okay, is defined as an intentional act of deception aimed at gaining an unlawful advantage or causing a loss to another party. It involves misrepresentation of the truth or concealment of material facts to induce someone to act to their detriment. Common types of fraud include those in the insurance, stock, and mortgage industries. Liberty Media's stock in 2021 increased in value by $4.8 billion by attracting the kiddies to the show, by selling crack to the kids. Fraud is lying for gain, resulting in harm to another. Mind conditioning people, lying to people, giving them false beliefs, impacting their values by harming somebody's sporting chance, by taking somebody's valid accomplishment away from them and pretending it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, kids. You live your life like this. You don't care about values, integrity. Yeah, as long as you're winning. What harm does that do? Harm to everybody. These are the societal values that these capitalist entities, they don't care about people, they don't care about societies, they care about trampling over everybody to make them money. Sadly, the system, the court system, is actually there to defend the interests of the capitalist, and that's where we're supposed to seek justice for such a fraud, such a contrivance. But anyway, back to what Formula One, just to prove, this is the Formula One, the safety car period, and their account of it by Mark Hughes. Was this the most dramatic and contentious conclusion of a World Championship finale in the sport's history? Yes, it's certainly a contender, right up there with Brazil 2008 and Japan 1976. So, what was contentious about Brazil 2008? What was contentious about that? Oh, well, it's Singapore where somebody cheated, and then Brazil was where Eccleston and Max Mosley, Eccleston, the marketing rights holder of the sport, and Mosley from the FIA defrauded the world then as well, didn't they? By concealing, knowing about the Renault cheating, to maintain the value, the perceived value of their show, impacting everybody in a manner that I described in this video here. Who are the true victims of that? Which is not Massa. There's many people, and that's going to cost millions for Eccleston and for Formula One and the FIA. Far more than the 64 million that Massa is claiming. But check that out in that video and take the action I'm requesting. Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes dominated the event from the first lap until the penultimate one, but Max Verstappen's Red Bull took the victory and thereby the championship on the last lap under circumstances Mercedes believed were invalid. Just Mercedes believe that. Look at the way that they project it. Just that one group of people, them competitors who have got their bias on this, they think it's wrong. Look at the projection. The controversy began on lap 52. No, it began on lap 53 because Lewis Hamilton was on lap 53. 6 from the end. No, there were 5.4 laps remaining for Lewis Hamilton when Nicholas Latifi crashed. When Nicholas Latifi, battling with Mick Schumacher's Haas, crashed his Williams into turn 14 barriers. At this point, Hamilton was leading Verstappen by 11 seconds. No, that was almost 12. It was 11.9, and was well on his way to an unprecedented 8th World Championship, overtaking Michael Schumacher's long-standing record of 7. What you don't tell us about is at the beginning of that lap for Latifi, his race engineer did say, must be this lap, Nicholas. That's on the driver cams that you can access. What you don't tell us is that each of the 5 previous laps, Latifi's gone round turn 14 in 4th gear. This time, knowing he's got dirty tyres, he goes round there in 3rd gear and drops the accelerator. Now, in a rear-wheel drive car, if you select a lower gear and dump the accelerator, you spin up the back wheels. If you've got a steering angle on, then you manage to kick the back end of your car out. You would think that a professional racing driver in the pinnacle of the sport would understand that. You would think that if you wanted to crash the back of your car into a barrier at that turn, that would be how you'd choose to do it. I'm not saying it was manufactured in the same way that Piquet Jr. crashed his car at Singapore 2008. We'd need further analysis for that. I would just I invite that further analysis. Anyway, we don't also get the race control cameras. They do have that footage, unless they've destroyed it, because they do show us that in certain events, but they didn't show us in Abu Dhabi 2021. We'll carry on with the report. Safety car. With the field slowed to safety car pace, it's the perfect opportunity to get onto new tyres for the restart. What are the conditions that need to be met before the restart? Don't tell us. Unless, of course, you are leading the race by less time than it would take to get into the pits, make your tyre change and accelerate out again, still leading. 11 seconds, almost 12, wouldn't have been enough to do that. In this situation, pitting Hamilton would always have triggered Red Bull into leaving Verstappen out there in the lead with the race almost over. Yes. So, what do teams know? Teams know the protocols, what needs to take place. They know the data as to roughly, on average, how long do these type of incidents take to deal with. How many laps of a race are likely to elapse during this safety car period, and therefore make a calculation as to whether the race is going to resume or not, and base their decision as to whether to change tyres based on whether they believe the race is going to resume or not. Because if the race is not going to resume and there's a risk that you are going to lose track position by changing tyres, you do not lose track position. You're not going to get any benefit from a change of tyres when all you're doing is completing the end of that race under a safety car. So you just maintain your position on the track. Mercedes had to lead, and again, teams make their strategic calls based on the regulations and based on the data of similar incidents. Mercedes had to leave Hamilton out there on hard compound tyres which had been on since lap 14. Again, this is all part of another contrivance because they started on mediums, Verstappen started on softs. Mediums, most medium runners went on to be on lap 20. Why did they throw away the advantage of being able to run for longer on their mediums, leaving the second stint much shorter, more tyre life? Oh, why did you do that, Mercedes? Why did you do that? Why did you pit and not give yourself the opportunity of saying, well, we've got another 8 to 15 laps worth of tyre wear in our tyres. we'll keep going. And actually, if there's an incident where the safety car is deployed, we're already in the lead. And what we'll do, we'll be able to pit under a safety car, and we'll not only maintain that lead, we'll get a cheaper pit stop. Oh no, we threw that away. It's part of the drama. Hamilton was potentially looking at a last gas restart. What? Hamilton was potentially looking at a last gas restart for the race and the championship, with his rival sitting right on his gearbox on a brand new set of softs, of having his title taken from him by random fate. This is Formula One telling us that it's random fate. Misrepresentation of the truth. So they go on to say, and again, like I say, this is evidence of Formula One acting fraudulently. But it seemed like it might not come to that. As the car and the debris were removed, we were running out of laps. It seemed entirely possible that the race would end under the safety car. In the last couple of years, there has been a general agreement with the teams that the race director should always endeavour to have the race ending under... Look at that lie. That's not even a thing. What do they project to get you to think and to feel about things a certain way? There's a general agreement with the teams that we'll try and end it like this. No, there are a set of rules, and this sporting event is conducted in accordance with those rules and regulations. You don't have two teams playing a game of football, and we all know that when it gets to the World Cup final, in a knockout game of football, if the scores are level at the end of full time, we go into extra time. And if the scores are level at the end of extra time, there becomes a penalty shootout. But if we get to what should be the scheduled end of time at the end of extra time, the time's up. 120 minutes plus all stoppage time has been played. And the referee doesn't blow his whistle. He carries on letting them play. And they carry on, and they carry on, and they carry on. And then one of the teams scores. And then the referee blows his whistle for full time. And everybody's outraged. Because, well, why has he played the extra 10 minutes out of nowhere to allow that team to eventually score? Oh, by the way, the other team that just lost, they were actually down to 9 men as well because he'd sent 2 of their players off. Oh, but the teams had long since agreed that they'd rather play next goal's the winner rather than let it go to a penalty shootout, everybody. No, that's not a thing, okay? That's not allowed. You conduct the sport in accordance with the rules and regulations of the sport. Otherwise, it's a contrivance, isn't it? Yeah. So that's not a thing. You do try and back this up. The teams have long since agreed. Well, yeah, it can be a desire. Ideally, we wouldn't like a safety car finish. Yeah, that's a nice ideal to have. But if the circumstances dictate that that's not possible, then it's not possible. And we do have safety car finishes. There's plenty of evidence of the times where we finished Grand Prix under a safety car. It happens. So he tried to validate it, even if only for a lap or two, as at Baku earlier this year, which is a misrepresentation of the truth there at Baku. The reality is at Baku, that should have been a safety car finish. The only reason they got away with actually creating a 2-lap shootout at the end of it by red flagging the race, essentially stopping the marathon after 26 miles and lining everybody up with a quarter of a mile to go, or whatever, right? And going, right, we're just going to have a sprint to the finish now, see who wins the marathon that way. That's what they did in Baku. Now, the reason they got away with doing that is on the grounds of a projected safety concern. There had been 2 unexpected, unpredicted, because you're not going to predict them, tyre explosions in that race. As part of the clear-up operation, due to the location of Verstappen's car, the safety car brought those cars lapping behind it through the pit lane. Now, clearly, there's a slight risk if there's another tyre explosion and a car loses control and then diverts off into one of these pit garages where there are team members. Okay, and there's potentially things such as fuel that could all cause an explosion and things. So there's a slight risk. Now, when that risk was identified to race control, it would have been possible for race control to say, okay, concern noted, and what we'll do next time around the track is we'll put them cars back on the track because there is room on the track for them to pass the incident where Verstappen's car is being cleared from. And actually the car was pretty much clear of the track by then anyway, and we'll continue this procedure. We still need to do the in-lapping procedure of a car. It's still going to end up behind a safety car. But what they did, they invoked the notion of it being a safety concern to say, okay, we don't want to have one of these cars going through the pit lane with it and risk another tyre exploding. So therefore, rather than do that, we'll red flag it. And then we'll... And again, another thing you can do that far into a race is once you red flag the race so close to the end of it, declare that as being the race result. But no, we want to excite the kiddies. We'll now turn this into a 2-lap shootout. Increase the jeopardy. What's going to happen now, everybody? So this is the example that this guy seeks to use to validate what he's now trying to suggest. And we come down. In this situation, that would have been impossible to achieve if normal sporting regulation protocol was followed. Oh, so if normal sporting regulation protocol was followed. Yes, so you didn't follow normal sporting regulation protocol. You're not allowed to deviate from it. Why are you writing this like this, Formula One? By lap 56, with 2 laps to go, the scene was close to being cleared. I've demonstrated that Latifi's car, from the Latifi car camera, there were marshals on the track sweeping. When the notification given to us was, and lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. We got to the end of lap 56, the lap that they must have been released on, and the marshals are jumping over the barriers then. The clerk of the course still hasn't radioed back to race control saying, yeah, we're good now, the track's good and safe, you're good to carry out your mandatory procedure. The earliest that could take place was lap 57, dictating a safety car finish. But he says, in this situation, the lapped cars are usually allowed to unlap themselves. No, it's mandatory that you do. It's been mandatory since the beginning of the 2012 season. It's not optional. And then the safety car then pits at the end of the following lap, giving those cars the chance to join the back of the pack before the race becomes live. What is that doing? That's restoring the correct race order, and what it's doing, it's ensuring that Max Verstappen, he's been able to close on the car in front of him, which means Lando Norris, he's also able to close on the car that's in front of him as well. That reset condition is achieved for all competitors. The previously built up advantages between all competitors are all wiped out. We achieve this scratch position and then, and only then, do we go racing again. But there wasn't time to do that. So what does that mean? That means it's a safety car finish. This would have seen the safety car peeling off into the pit lane, one corner from the checkered flag, and it becomes a ceremonial thing of crossing the start-finish line. Okay, because you can't overtake prior to the start-finish line. The race ends in that running order that was behind the safety car. It is not compulsory for the lapped cars to be allowed to unlap themselves. Yes, it is. If you don't do it, what does it result in? Well, it results in skewed outcomes. It results in Lando Norris being a lap behind Pierre Gasly. It means that also in that running order, looking at data view, you have Max Verstappen. Well, we'll have a quick look now. Let's have a look here. We'll look at data view.
Well,
Verstappen is showing it now is 8 seconds behind Hamilton. Okay, Bottas is 1.2 seconds behind Sainz. Look at these gaps. Oh, 1.7 seconds, 1.1, 2.1. What were they before? Oh, they weren't this, were they? They're skewed all outcomes. How is it fair that however far Vettel was behind Leclerc while he's now only 1.7 seconds? How is it fair that however far Bottas was behind Sainz, oh, now he's only 1.2 seconds? How is it fair that Max is only 7.9 seconds now behind? Oh, because you have to achieve the reset condition. Now that Gasly has caught the back of the pack, Norris is showing at 1 minute 59.5 seconds behind Gasly. Yeah, because you have to achieve the restart condition. All of those get wiped out. That's why you achieve the unlapping procedure. So, we'll go back. It's not compulsory. It absolutely is. So this is lies of Formula 1, defrauding everybody. It seems this is what would have happened. There were, however, 5 lapped cars between Hamilton and Verstappen. Those of Lando Norris, Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon, Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel. So the ending may not have been dramatic. No, firstly, it doesn't end like that. Firstly, you cannot restart the race like that. So it's a safety car finish, which is non-dramatic anyway. Secondly, you cannot just leave them in situ and restart the race. You're not mentioning Daniel Ricciardo, Lance Stroll and Mick Schumacher, the other 3 of the 8 lapped cars. You're only talking about the 5, aren't you? So specifically, the 5 lapped cars between Hamilton and Verstappen were allowed to unlap themselves, and the safety car would be coming in at the end of that lap, giving 1 lap of racing. Hamilton's worst fears had been realised, and Verstappen duly outbraked him on much grippier tyres to win both race and title. A furious Mercedes team filed 2 protests, one regarding the restart procedure and another which argued that Verstappen had momentarily passed Hamilton under safety car. It's not an argument, it's a material fact. There's evidence that Verstappen's nose nudged ahead of Hamilton's. That constitutes as an overtake. If the 2 cars cross the start-finish line at the end of that race and it's a photograph finish, which car is winning? Which car is adjudged to have performed the overtake if it has come from behind to achieve that position with the nose being an inch ahead of the other one? Oh, that's Verstappen. That's deemed as an overtake. It's not an allegation. It's not an argument. It's a fact. So, a furious mistake. How do they feel, everybody? Doesn't matter how you feel. It's a statement of fact that the regulations were breached by the governing body. Isn't it strange that the proposal prior to them being breached was that they could be breached? Oh, it's a possibility that they could be breached, and that's not even possible. Isn't it strange that the narrative given by F1 TV is that, oh, Red Bull are being hard done by this? Typical decision. I'm not surprised. Isn't it strange that they didn't show you what was actually going on at turn 14, instead showing Max's girlfriend emotional, praying to the racing gods? And all the other gaslighting they were given. Oh, what does this mean for the Constructors' Championship? Does this mean Mercedes are now champions? Yes. The first protest was argued under Article 48.12 of the Sporting Regulations, which states, if the clerk of the course considers it safe to do so, yes, and the message, lapped cars may now overtake, has been sent to all competitors via the official messaging system, any cars that have been lapped by the leader will be required to pass the cars on the lead lap and the safety car. Now let's be clear about this. If the clerk of the course considers it safe to do so, and the message, lapped cars may now overtake. So let's work this through. If the clerk of the course doesn't consider it safe to do so, then what? If he doesn't think it's safe to do this procedure, it's not safe to do the unlapping procedure, but it is safe to go racing, everybody. No, it's not, is it? Work it out, dickheads. Work it out, okay? To all the barristers that are now watching this channel, thinking of your legal arguments, all right? If the clerk of the course considers it safe to do so, right, yeah, All right. So if he thinks it's safe, you carry out the procedure. If he doesn't think it's safe, what do you think you're doing? Well, you've got the safety car out on track because there's a safety concern that needs to be dealt with. And if he doesn't think it's yet safe, what do you think he's going to do? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Okay. So if it's not safe, you just continue lapping behind the safety car until it is safe, and then you do this. All right. And as part of this, you send the message to all of the competitors, right? Because they all need to know. The cars that are just staying in the order, they need to know you stay in line, so you're not weaving around giving this facade of warming your tyres up, right? Stay where you are, right, in that line, because there's going to be cars overtaking you. Right, the cars that have been lapped, you guys, you now overtake and do the unlapping procedure. Yeah, that's what it's about. That's what these words mean. I know you all struggle with words because it sounds legal, okay, and you won't be able to understand it, and that's why you need to pay a lawyer for you to understand words, okay. Luckily, this isn't written in Latin, so it's something that we should all be able to follow this one. That's okay. That's okay. So, and if it's been sent by the official messaging system, any cars that have been lapped, right? And what the any refers to is because it caveats something here. Is because it's not all cars, and the reason it's not all cars is because if you don't qualify for this process, then you're not included, right? It's any, and it should have in brackets really to make it a bit more clearer, which meet the qualifying criteria. Any cars which meet the qualifying criteria, which is that you've not got yourself lapped deep into that safety car window. If you've got yourself lapped deep into that safety car window after the safety car has passed the safety car line for the second time, then unlucky, you've disadvantaged yourself, so you don't qualify to be released. That's how it works, okay? So any cars that qualify that have been lapped by the leader are required to pass the cars on the lead lap and the safety car. This will only this is the caveat. This is the qualifying criteria here. This will only apply to cars that were lapped at the time they crossed the line at the end of the lap during which they crossed the first safety car line for the second time after the safety car was deployed. Hence the use of the word any. Yeah? Yeah, any. Yeah, because you don't use the word all when you then stipulate a qualifying criteria. The fact that they've now changed that to all makes this regulation wording worse than it originally was. But that's legal for you. That's the legal deception of trying to pretend that that was a valid argument to validate this. Anyway, having overtaken the cars on the lead lap and the safety car, these cars should then proceed around the track at an appropriate speed without overtaking and make every effort to take up position at the back of the line of cars behind the safety car. Whilst they're overtaking and in order to ensure this may be carried out safely, the cars on the lead lap must always stay on the racing line unless deviating from it is unavoidable. So it means don't weave. These cars are going to pass you. Once they've passed you, they've got to go around the track pretty quickly, but obviously with safety in mind, and make every effort to catch up with the lines at the back of the can. They're not racing each other because the race hasn't begun yet. So they're not racing. They've got to be sensible and they're not overtaking each other. What happened to the 5 that were released? By the moment they crossed the start-finish line, and what should have been that lap that is the unlapping lap, they were told that they're free to race. There's another breach of the regulations that nobody identifies. Funny that, isn't it? Did you identify that, Formula One? No. Unless the clerk of the course considers the presence of the safety car is still necessary, once the last lapped car has passed the leader, which was Mick Schumacher on this occasion, because we've not included Ricciardo, Stroll and Schumacher, the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. So bearing in mind the earliest that this could have even began was on lap 57, Schumacher passes Hamilton and the safety car on lap 57. The safety car returns to the pits at the end of the following lap, at the end of lap 58. Oh, that's a safety car finish. If the clerk of the course considers the track conditions are unsuitable for overtaking, the message "overtaking will not be permitted" will be sent to all competitors via the official messaging system. You see, the message that you actually were, well, we all had displayed on our screens by Formula One, by F1 TV, was lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. Not overtaking will not be permitted. That's a fraudulent message. It does not appear in any regulation. Lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. They made that up. They made it seem like it was an official message when it was a freestyle message. You see, overtaking will not be permitted is not ambiguous. If all cars get the message, overtaking will not be permitted, what does it mean? It means I can't overtake. Everybody knows I can't overtake. If all cars get the message, lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake, what does that mean? I've been lapped. I'm not allowed to overtake. The cars that aren't lapped, are they allowed to overtake? Who are they allowed to overtake? The lapped cars, each other. As a lapped car, am I allowed to overtake the cars that I'm still racing against? Too many questions, isn't there? And when there's too many questions, it means that the instruction is a false instruction. It's not in a regulation because it's not definitive, is it? And regulations are drawn up as legal documents by lawyers. And now we've got other lawyers trying to pretend that they're not legal. They weren't legally binding. Oh, yeah, they were. Anyway, but that would be a legal argument for the lawyers to argue, and they'll all try and cream however many millions each for their legal teams to have that argument play out. The industry. The stewards throughout this appeal arguing that the stewards had an argument. Now, how did the stewards do that? The stewards invited Red Bull to construct that argument. Mercedes appealed to the stewards to say, you've not applied the regulations correctly, you've breached the regulations, and had you have applied them properly, this would have been a safety car finish. What did the stewards do? Rather than compare those regulations to what actually happened, they went, oh no, what we'll do, we'll invite Red Bull into this appeal and we'll get them to construct a case. We'll play the legal game, a game of back and forth, and we will be the umpire, the chair umpire, to decide which side we think has created the most artistic impression in the facade, and then we will make our judgment of the situation. No, that's not how you determine the facts of the situation and do the right thing, is it? That's not how it works. Unless it's legal, the tool of manipulation for the manipulators, the bar, the men of integrity that they don't look at the situation and drill down to the facts and the dynamics of a situation, determine the difference between right and wrong, and just say, no, that's right, they're right. No, as long as you pay one of them enough money, they will create an argument for you. And one of their chums in the club, the bar, as long as somebody else is paying them enough money, they will create an argument for them. And then what you'll have is the costume drama play out in a suitable venue, the grandeur of a grand court, everybody, where we play the game of back and forth, directed by the chair umpire, the judge, who assesses the validity of each of the performances of the actors, the bar, in the club, the bar, and then rules on justice. This is the legal system for achieving outcomes in this country. So this is the way the law works, apparently. The justice system, which is not fit for purpose and has corrupt operators willing to actually present a cause which they know is wrong. And yet they're seen as being people of integrity, people working in the justice industry. They should be locked up. They should be locked up. And that's me being nice. Anyway, when the clerk... Oh, this is the stewards arguing that 48.12 was overridden by 48.13, which states when the clerk of the course decides it's safe to call in the safety car, the message safety car in this lap will be sent to all competitors via the official messaging system, and the car's orange lights will be extinguished. This will be the signal competitors and drivers that will be entering the pits into that lap. So they're saying that, once the race director didn't carry out the mandatory procedure, but the moment he said safety car in, that overrides the fact that he didn't carry out that mandatory procedure. No, it doesn't, because the race director cannot not carry out 48.12. So just because he's not carried it out, by then saying, he didn't carry it out, but he said safety car in, so it means safety car has to come in. And it doesn't mean that either. There can be examples whereby the procedure of the unlapping has been carried out and the safety car is due to then come back in, but then, and the message given that the safety car is going to be coming in this lap, safety car in this lap, but then a further safety concern happens. Something else is identified. One of the cars in that safety car snake suffers a problem, spins, crashes. Something else occurs somewhere else around the track. Oh, we've still got a problem. We can't resume the race yet. You'll carry on lapping behind the safety car. I know I said safety car in this lap to begin the race, but no, we can't go racing yet. I've got to reverse 48.13. It doesn't override 48.1.2. We're continuing the safety car. That's 15.3, the race director's overriding authority of the use of that safety car on the grounds of safety and sporting fairness. You negate sporting fairness if you don't apply 48.12, so that's an invalid argument. But you're presenting this as a valid reason for he did this and therefore it's all okay, everybody. No, it's not. No, it's not. When the clerk of the court decided it's safe to... Yeah, that's all bullshit. We'll come down a bit more. Having considered the various statements made by the parties, the stewards determined the following. Made by the parties. This is after you'd invited Red Bull in. You'd sent them away for 40 minutes for them to construct an argument. And then you've invited everybody back, and then you've sided with Red Bull's side of the argument. That's not the way of dealing with an appeal. The way you deal with an appeal, and this appeal was also presented by a King's Counsel, or at the time it was a Queen's Counsel barrister that Mercedes sent in there. You know, another of these barristers that are the world's leading expert in sports law. This one represented Man City in one of the cases. The world's best barrister, and he can't overturn the result. Incredible, isn't it? It's incredible how good these barristers are, isn't it? You know, we've got the one that operated for Mercedes, he's corrupt. We've got the one that's operating for Massa, he's corrupt. We've got the one that's operating for Bernie Ecclestone, he's corrupt. We've got the one that performed the investigation for Red Bull in the Shrek and Fiona situation, and he found that Christian Horner's done nothing wrong here, move on already. The barrister will find and create you the argument that you want creating. Yes, this is the legal profession. All men of integrity, yes, we wear the capes and we wear the wigs and we're members of the bar. And our commitment is first and foremost to the club, the bar. Don't allow anybody to see behind the curtain of the facade, everybody. Anyway, having considered the various statements made by the parties, the stewards determined the following: that Article 15.3 allows the race director to control the use of the safety car, which in our determination includes its deployment and withdrawal. Oh, the stewards determined that. The stewards, Derek Warwick, the man whose great white hope is Max Verstappen. was it Gary Connolly? Did he the one that gets a lift from each of these Grand Prix via the Red Bull private jet? Is that him? And Felix Holter, well, he's corrupt as well. Yeah, don't worry about that bit. Don't worry about them. That won't appear in the media. Derek Warwick, also conflict of interest, determining who wins a race out of Mercedes or a Honda-powered car. I mean, Derek owns a Honda car dealership on the Isle of Jersey. So there's no benefit to him if he says, no, I'm going to decide the rules and I'm going to say that Red Bull, the Honda car here, wins this one. That'll help me sell some more Hondas. That'll give good brand kudos to Honda, won't it? That's called a conflict of interest that the FIA were unable to identify there. But don't you worry your little heads about that one. So in their determination, Derek's and Felix and Gary Connolly's determination, it includes Article 53 allows the race director to control the safety car, and that includes its deployment and its withdrawal. Yeah, but if he uses it and it impacts sporting fairness, then it's a corrupt application. So it doesn't mean that, lads. Okay, it doesn't mean that. And you'd have thought, that these three unqualified people being asked to judge on something, because that's another thing. To be able to be fit to judge on something, surely you'd have to be qualified and demonstrate a competence for being able to do so. But again, people in the legal profession, they're not qualified to judge either. Okay, they've just been a game player at some point in their time. Done the minimum requirement to become a game player, and then played the game for a bit. Played the legal facade, the back and forth for a bit. They know how it's done. They've seen a judge kind of direct the back and forth, and then they have a go at directing the back and forth themselves as judges. So it doesn't tell you their aptitude for determining the truth of the situation. You just know that they know how the game is played. Anyway. No, don't worry about the judges and the stewards making judging decisions. You would think then that this then gets referred to the FIA's own judging system, because they've got their own courts as well. And you'd have thought that their legal experts would have been able to determine that actually 15.3 doesn't mean that. And therefore the FIA themselves would have said, you're wrong there, lads. Okay. It doesn't mean that, and therefore we need to overturn this. But the FIA's own court didn't do that. They didn't intervene. Yeah, they didn't say, look, you're getting this wrong. What you've done there has completely changed the sporting outcome of a world championship that we oversee. And that compromises the integrity of the sport, and therefore that cannot stand. And we, as a governing body of the sport, need to intervene and set an example to the world and do the right thing. Now, the FIA didn't do that. Instead, they produced a fraudulent report, which I'll go through in another video. So, this is the legal profession, everybody. The integrity of the legal profession. If somebody was paying them, then maybe they'd consider it. But no, if nobody's paying them, they don't do anything. Just like the last 4 years, there's been an injustice, and because nobody's paid a lawyer to challenge it, nobody's done anything. Funny that, isn't it? Funny that. But don't worry, I'll do it for free. Anyway, we'll show you that justice shouldn't cost money. Justice should not cost money. But sadly, they make an industry of it in our country, and probably the world over. It should be a public service that we do pay taxes for, and therefore we are entitled to a effective and transparent system of justice. That's our human rights. But don't tell anybody that. Don't tell anybody that. It will ruin the facade. Anyway, although the Article 48.12 may not have been applied fully in relation to the safety car returning to the pits at the end of the following lap, Article 48.13 overrides that. And once the message safety car in this lap has been displayed, it is mandatory to withdraw the safety car at the end of that lap. Not true at all. that notwithstanding Mercedes' request that the stewards remediate the matter by amending the classification to reflect the positions at the end of the penultimate lap, this is a step that the stewards believe is effectively shortening the race retrospectively and hence not appropriate. So they don't think that shortening the race retrospectively is appropriate, but they do think that changing what is a race that's contested over a race distance of like 200 and something miles, wiping out the 12-second advantage that had been built up over 190 of those miles, wiping all that out, breaking the rules of the sport, knowing that then one of them drivers, the one in second, had got a massive advantage over the first one due to the situation regarding the tyres and the way that the ability to pit and get out on track without losing position. Knowing all of that, well, now we think it is appropriate to make it the race just over one lap to see who wins over one lap. You know, not a 200-mile Grand Prix. You know, this is a 3 and a bit mile shootout now, knowing that one car's a sitting duck and the other one is in like qualifying spec. You think that that one's appropriate, don't you, lads? Regarding the overtaking behind the safety car, Article 48.8 states, with the exception of cases listed under 8 HBO, no driver may overtake another car on the track, including the safety car, until he passes the line for the first time after the safety car has returned to the pits. There was a race in Belgium earlier in the season where the regulation is the race would be deemed to have started when the lead car crosses the start-finish line for the first time after the safety car has returned to the pits. That never happened there. But the FIA and Formula One and Sky Sports F1 declared that you'd all seen a race there and Max Verstappen had won it. But we'll only give him half points for winning it. And Lewis Hamilton came third in that race. We'll only give him half. That's still 5 more points. Yeah, you manufactured it. You manufactured the whole season. You lied to people. You defrauded people all season. The stewards also threw out this protest on the following grounds. Having considered the various statements do you need to consider statements when you're confronted with the notion this car overtook that car? Let's ask you for you to write down a statement about this. No, let's just look at the evidence, shall we? We've got evidence. We don't need to listen to what he said or she said. Let's just look at the facts, the evidence of the fact. The stewards determined that although car 33 did at one stage, for a very short period of time, doesn't matter how long for, in a photograph finish, how long is that for? Oh, snapshot, yeah? And was it ahead? Yeah. Okay, so the statements are irrelevant. This notion of how long it was ahead is irrelevant. Slightly in front is irrelevant. It's in front. At a time when both cars were accelerating and braking, yeah, that's normal. You're still not allowed to be ahead. It moved back behind car 44 and was not in front when the safety car period ended, i.e. at the line. Yeah, we've seen incidents where this season Max overtook Oscar. Oh, one of the drivers got a penalty. There's a reason for that. They got a penalty. Oh, you said this time it's because he braked too hard. Have you compared that with how other drivers braked in other safety car situations? Such as George Russell trying to play games with Max in another safety car situation, either this season or last. Don't worry about that. That's just a contrivance for this season by denying Oscar. But don't worry. On such things, the 2021 championship decider turned, and it's the championship decider that people are likely to be discussing for many years to come. Funny that you predicted that, isn't it? See, that's a fraud. All that you've presented us with here, all that you presented us with in this fraudulent report that's still there, what that constitutes is that an intentional act of deception, a misrepresentation of the truth. You are fraudulent. So I've declared that This UK judge, David Quest, is acting on behalf of a fraudulent entity that combines Bernie Ecclestone, convicted of fraud, Formula One, who I've just demonstrated are entirely fraudulent, and the FIA, who are also entirely fraudulent, which will be evidenced when I go through their report into Abu Dhabi 2021 in a video that will be to come. And this UK judge is seeking, well, he is representing those three fraudulent entities, and he is seeking outcomes to absolve them from future challenges to their historic results, such as the Abu Dhabi fraud of 2021, such as the Belgian parade fraud of 2021, and we can go through the seasons of 2022, 2023, 2024, and this season where we are still seeing contrivance within the sport, manipulating results through the misapplication or arbitrary application of penalties which impact drivers' races and manipulate outcomes in races, affecting the World Championship that the FIA administer and oversee, utilising stewards to make decisions that manipulate outcomes. They'll claim that they're independent and they're not responsible for the stewards' decisions. Well, you are absolutely responsible because you appoint them. And to appoint them, you've got to determine their competence. And if they're not competent, you are responsible for employing somebody in a role that's not fit for doing the role, much as the judiciary, much as HMCTS, who claim they can't be held responsible for judicial decisions. And the judges are independent and only held accountable to well, it's their chums that decide whether or not a judge is guilty of fraudulent contrivance and perverting the course of justice. People in the club decide whether their mates are guilty or not, don't they? That's the way the law works, everybody. That's the way the law works. Thank you for your time.